Are you sick and tired of international break? Do you feel like international windows are a complete waste of time? Well, like and subscribe to Sorare Down Under. You'll get your very own Down Under pack, a pet kangaroo, a deadly snake, and an NFT of your very own A-League player. But wait, there's more. Like and subscribe today, and you'll get not one, but 2 Down Under packs, 2 pet kangaroos, 2 deadly snakes, and 2 NFTs of your very own A-League player. But wait, there's more. Like and subscribe this minute, and you'll also get your very own personalised birthday message.
Happy birthday to...
But wait, there's more. Like and subscribe this very second, and we'll also come have dinner with you and your family in a totally not weird or strange way. So like and subscribe. Sorare Down Under. What are you waiting for? G'day mates, well the boys are back together, I mean in the matching red and white of the Benfica kits. I must say, Alistair, there's nothing quite as terrifying as opening up, the studio, ready to record an ep, and you have an identical person looking back at you, and like it's as if looking into a mirror. But here we are, matching Benfica kits after matching in the Wolfsburg kits last week. It's getting quite a trend here, isn't it? Great minds think alike, maybe?
Hey, nice shirt.
Yeah, both just a couple of fashionable boys. Yeah, one of us is going to have to go and change, I guess. This is very awkward.
Yeah, a bit of an optical illusion. But, I mean, Alistair, you flew the ship solo last week. Did an admirable job, I must say. It's never easy having to host a show. It's quite different hosting a show on your lonesome. But here we are. We're back together. It's been a big couple of weeks in the Sorare Down Under world. I mean... Obviously, of course, the Sorare Andrews podcast last week. I mean, I feel like we can safely say that is possibly the most fun we've ever had on a Sorare podcast ever, hands down.
Yeah, it was nice. It was good fun. I really enjoyed it. I think those two guys are just... The conversation flows so freely with those two. And I think the fact that kind of not having a set topic that we had to stick to and just being able to kind of shoot the shit is something, obviously, week to week, you and I, we try and think of, okay, what can we actually bring to the table for the show? What segments can we do? What topics can we talk about? So it was nice to just, have a few laughs, make a few jokes, talk about, everything but Sorare. So absolutely loved it. Can't wait to do it again. I was saying to Andrew when we teed it up, I was like, Simon's kind of job is finished now, kind of. Yeah, the football season's over, so you just basically kick back and relax for 6 months, right?
I'm sexy and I'm homeless.
So I was saying, now we're it's podcast season for us. So hopefully we can pop up on a few other podcasts in the Sorare community over the next couple of months.
You sort of mentioned about the fact that we just sort of chatted. There wasn't exactly a strict topic to stick to. I must say, the further we delved into roasts and, what our favourite fruit was, it was like I was waiting for us to go back onto the Sorare content, but we just kept chatting and it just kept getting more and more wild and more fun. And I mean, it was kind of great. I feel like if we did that and we were just like, you know what, let's just off the cuff, it would be awful. But I mean, those guys are seasoned pros and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I mean, talking of roast, Simon, that's all anyone can talk about over the last week. Obviously, international break is here, so people have got to look for other ways to keep themselves entertained. And, hashtag roast daddy is blowing up Twitter. I don't know about you, but I've just been getting an onslaught of, roast-related DMs, people with pictures of their roasts. Asking me to sign their roasts, naming their kid, roast-related names like Parsnip and Gravy, in our honour. I mean, how's the roast situation on your end? Has there been another roast? Are the boys getting around the roast? What's happening in roast world? That's what everyone wants to know. Obviously, there's nothing to talk about in the Sorare front, so it's all about the roast.
I tell you what, Elsa, I'm really leaning into this whole roast thing, and I mean... The roasts are finding their way to me. I'm not even going out looking for roasts, but roasts are just being put out in front of me. And I mean, what am I meant to do, Alistair? Am I meant to not eat this delicious bundle of meat and gravy? Of course I am. Of course I am. And I kid you not, Alistair, this is no word of a lie. I got home from work today, got home, And guess what my housemate has cooked up? He's been home in the country. He's brought back, it's a nice big thing of roast beef, potatoes, pumpkin, gravy. I've got pictures. I've got videos.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
It was so well documented. I think my housemates were a little bit confused why I just kept taking photos of his roast. Like I was just up at his grill, just like, yeah, you're cutting those potatoes, are you? Like it was a little bit weird. But yeah, I'm just leaning to this roast thing. I think, we're about 30 or so episodes into the Sorare Down Under journey. I reckon by episode 100, Alistair, I'll be an extra 50 kilos. I'll be 30% potato at that point.
I can't wait to see your evolution over the course of the next 70 or so episodes as you just slowly put on the pounds. Look, I mean, I'm all for us just totally ditching this Sorare thing and just becoming a roast-based podcast. It'd probably make more sense when we're explaining it to our friends and family. We have a podcast. Oh, what it's about? It's about this fantasy NFT. Who cares? It's about roasts. People can get around that. People understand it. It's relatable. It's accessible. So look, this may be our last Sorare related episode of all time.
And I mean, let me just think. When has a roast ever let you down? Has a roast ever not been selected as your last player in a lineup? Has a roast ever pulled a hammy before the weekend? Has a roast price ever plummeted down towards earth? No, Alistair. Roasts are happy.
Look, if anything, roasts, the price of roasts are pretty stable. There's always demand for roasts. Unlimited supply, you don't have to wait for the newest auction. You can just go and get a roast whenever you want. A roast is never sent off. It's just all positives for roasts. So, look, I don't know what more we can say. We're making a pretty good case for roasts.
Now, Elsa, we have had a few new subscribers over the past week, mostly largely thanks to our great mate, Laird.
Great mate, Laird.
Great mate.
I'm so lonely, so lonely.
I mean, probably a very interesting way for us to kick off the show, mostly roast content, and we're a couple of minutes in. I guess the roast thing came about from I had to leave a podcast early to go eat a roast and check my roast, and I don't regret it. And look, I'm happy that it happened, but just thought I'd add some clarification because someone might be 5 minutes in and just being like,
don't need context. Look, Laird knows what he's doing. He's sending people our way saying you've got to go and subscribe to Sorare Down Under. If they're here, they're 10 minutes in, and all we've talked about is roasts. If they can't handle it, unsubscribe.
Now, Elsa, I got to bring up a big point. Now, I was a happy viewer to last week's episode. Like I said, you ran the ship. News to me, actually, by watching the show, is that you've dabbled back into the rare market. Let's talk about that for a second before we talk about my gallery, shall we?
Yeah, so the kind of main thread of last week's episode was that I was just looking back, doing a bit of a revision on how things have gone since I made the drastic move to sell all my rares and move to super rare. And despite what it may feel like inside my heart and my brain, it's actually been working really well. Hitting thresholds regularly, a couple of lucky rewards without actually winning any decent rewards, has meant that I think ultimately I've made quite a bit more money than I would have if I just kept cracking on with my rares. But I think I remember I said to you at the start of that strategy, I was like, my aim is to kind of buy some quality super rares. Now, I don't know if I necessarily did that very well, but I do have super rares. I have a gallery of super rares. I have some depth. And the plan was always to kind of work my way down. It wasn't to just I didn't really have any intentions of trying to progress up to unique. I didn't really have any intentions of creating an entire gallery spanning, 8 or 9 tournaments a weekend in super rares. My plan was to kind of get set in the super rare level so that I've got teams to roll it every week and then hopefully turn some of those winnings into some high quality rares. And I'm kind of at that point now. So I think with this 270 competition coming up, I do think I'm going to go for that, as silly as that may seem. I was explaining on the pod last week that I've got a 240 team locked and loaded every week. I've got plenty of players. I can always find 5 guys to roll out for 240 and try and hit the threshold. And then my other players, I just don't feel are good enough for All-Star Super Rare. So I'm just going to roll them out in cap 270. But of course, that means that I'm not going to be winning any rewards week to week. So I thought I'll take some of these earnings, sell a couple of bits that I don't need, pick up some rares, and hopefully roll out a pretty solid rare pro team over the next month or so to try and whet my appetite when it comes to winning rewards. So time will tell, but I think I've got a pretty good little strategy on my hands.
I think it was quite poetic that the moment that you clicked accept offer on your James Maddison rare was when he absolutely sent his attempted shot into orbit against the Socceroos.
Somebody once told me
On Saturday morning.
Do I feel bad about ruining James Maddison's career? Somewhat. Yeah, it's going to suck when he just never scores a goal or gets a decisive again in his life. So that's a real shame. But hey, you got to take these chances.
Now, Alistair, you're in a slightly different environment. I don't think you're in the nice, warm home of your Gold Coast residence. You're out and about at the moment. Did you manage to catch on Saturday the game of the Socceroos played against England? Because that was pretty cool. We actually played really well. I don't know if anyone else watched the game and disagrees, but from an Australian perspective, we had a fair few chances that probably went begging. To lose 1-0, I know it was only a friendly, but I was pretty proud of my boys.
Are you saying that the A-League is the same quality as the Premier League? Is that what you're saying?
How else could you argue? I mean, we had a Socceroos perfectly matching against your James Maddisons.
That's right.
Enough said, really.
Yep, that's it. That's what the A-League brings. It brings pressure.
Charlie, diamonds are made under pressure. This is a pressure cooker. We're going to cook diamonds.
It puts pressure on those big boys, and that's what it's going to do on Sorare, Nicholas, if you're listening. If you're listening, Nicholas. A-League, I must say, 1-0 loss. That tells the world that we're ready to come on board.
It was pretty funny, though. Like, I did have a bit of fear for everyone's, rare, super rare, uniques when these Socceroos blokes were just going in studs up. They were kicking Jack Grealish to the end of the earth. Like, there's no actual defensive ability. They were just hacking at these legs. And And the whole time I was like, please don't break my Trent Alexander-Arnold's leg. Like, please stop.
Look, the Socceroos team is behind the cause. They want to be on board under the Sorare as well. So they'll break a leg a day until Nicholas finally, gets the boys onboarded.
And Alistair, can we also appreciate the fact that here I was watching a Socceroos England game, and I had my very own Trent Alexander-Arnold running out there doing his thing. The Liverpool boys have come into the gallery, and boy, it feels good. It feels great.
Wow. So anyone who listened to our episode a couple of weeks ago, I'm having nothing to do with this because I've ruined your life enough as it is. So I am having absolutely no input whatsoever in helping you design your gallery. So what moves have you made? You a Liverpool defensive stack? What are we looking at?
Yeah, so given Liverpool's fixtures coming up, I went Alisson, Virgil van Dijk, Trent Alexander-Arnold, because, Trent's basically a mid anyway. And then I'm going to pair them with, it's either going to be Maddison and Son, or it might be an Arsenal stack. Now, after speaking with Laird on their podcast last week, he did make me question whether I was setting myself up for a whole lot of hurt going into Champion Europe. But I think looking at them in my gallery, I had a feeling that I've never had before in Sorare, where I was looking at a guy where I was like, this is like one of my favorite players in the world, and I have his card, and like his rare is like an ETH. Someone who I never thought I would ever get, and I was like, you know what? I might win jack shit, but for now, I'm happy. I'm happy to have them. And I started sending you some messages. I've already started scouting some good SO5, guys that I won't watch, but that will probably come. But for now, I'm happy with my Premier League purchase. I'm just happy to be here.
I love it. Okay, now I was looking at your gallery. So one of the benefits of your setup is I believe that these cards that you can see on screen now, it's all the same season, even though it's a different design. So you kind of got two lots of Liverpool cards that you can add to the same collection. So I guess is a strategy of yours to try and build out a bit of a Liverpool collection by maybe picking up some of these, less known or players that have moved on to different clubs, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who else we got here? God, they're pretty stacked, aren't they? Firmino, are you going to try and build a bit of a collection bonus on top of these boys?
I mean, maybe, because it's funny. I feel like for the first time, Sorare might have hit the nail on the head in terms of enticing people to go buy new season cards, because for the first time ever, I was like, well, maybe I do spend that extra 0.02 or whatever to get the new season cards. So because I feel like I know how tough it is going to be in Champ Europe, so I want to be smart and I need every kind of advantage I can get. So it possibly could be something to look at, like just picking up some of those cheap guys.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to... So one of the issues you're up against now by buying these older cards is that you're not going to get the first owner bonus because none of these cards are going to be auctioned because they're old season cards. So what you've got to try and do is either pick up jersey mints or one-ofs, or failing that, pick up just as many of these Liverpool cards as you can. So, again, there's a few players that have kind of moved on to different teams that you could pick up, or you could pick up a couple of these like Saudi boys who will have some international utility from time to time. But I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think since starting my own little Tottenham stack and kind of getting hooked into the collection game, it is quite fun. Like I explained to you a few weekends ago that, my strategy now is anything that I win with my limited boys, I will just sell and try and buy the new Spurs card of equivalent value. So if I win a tier 4 worth $8 and there's a Spurs player worth roughly $8, I'll just sell that one and try and pick myself up a Spurs player until I've built out that collection, hopefully, to, the whole team. So, yeah, I mean, I've found it really quite fun, and it could be something that, might just, I guess, add that extra layer of enjoyment for you.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because you've got to spend the extra ETH either way, but I just wasn't sure whether it was worth upfront paying that extra cost. Perhaps I could always have these guys for now, and when my situation's a bit clearer, pick up cards when they come on auction, because with the limiteds, the auctions will be pretty frequent, I'd say.
Pick up which cards on auction, sorry?
Like the new season cards.
But then you won't get any collection bonus because it's got to be the same season for it to count towards this collection.
Yeah, but I could sell those ones if I can get one on auction, or is that just too much work?
Oh, I see what you mean. Like, you could start again. Like, rather than push on down the road of this collection, sell these guys and start again. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, you will pay a premium for them. I've noticed that because they've got that first owner bonus in there, people are paying a lot more for cards on auction, which is kind of, there is an argument to be made that that's causing secondary market prices to go down. But obviously a great thing for Sorare, but not so good for the rest of us. I guess it depends on whether a collection is something you realistically want to go after, or whether you just want to buy players that you like and not really worry about the collection bonus. Obviously, you will be up against players who do have collection bonuses and do have new season cards, so you're going to be behind the 8 ball every week. But, I guess it's not going to make that much difference. It might, yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, if you come 7th, but you could have come 1st because of collection bonus, that's frustrating. But I think 9 times out of 10, it's going to be like, I came 208th and I could have come 197th, and it really doesn't make too much of a difference. So, yeah, it's kind of it's up to you, I suppose.
You almost can't win. You can't win a division without the new season cards. Is that fair to say?
No, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I think it's only true when there's like a situation where, Liverpool might play Luton Town and there's like 48 Liverpool stacks out there that are all identical, and then it comes down to collection bonus. But I think most weeks, most weeks number one is not just a full stack. Usually there's they've got a couple of Zenit boys, a couple of Liverpool boys, So I don't think it's as big a deal as people make out, but it certainly helps.
Mm. And Alistair, I almost don't want to talk about this because I'm kind of throwing myself under the bus, and I'd love to hear your take from it. Yesterday, I'm kind of springboarding off this whole, running my gallery, making my own decisions.
I think I'm old enough to make my own way in the world, and if you think that I'm a bee...
Now, normally, 9 times out of 10, I would always message Alistair before I do anything drastic or of major consequence. But I thought, no, today Simon's putting his big boy pants on, and I was trying to take my euros off my account. Now, it's quite hard with crypto in Australia. You can't export it. It's this whole big thing. And don't even get me started on how hard it is to actually take and put money onto the platform. It's very frustrating.
Mm.
So I went through the process on the website of how to take the euros off. And let's also remember I'd sold my gallery. So there was a fair amount of euros sitting in that account.
$100.
Yeah, keep going up. Anyway, and I messaged Alistair, and stupidly I didn't think, do a 20 euro test and see if you can translate it from euros into an Australian bank account, because it was this whole weird system. No, I've just gone the full kit and caboodle, the full lot.
I also like to live dangerously.
All at once. And I called Alistair and I said, what should I do with this? And he said, oh, no, definitely just put 20 euros at a time. Just test. And I've gone, I've done the whole thing. It's done.
You called me to ask how to withdraw from the platform. I then told you step by step what you should do, and you went, oh, I didn't do that. I've already done it.
It counts with compounding interest, and it's gone.
I mean, thank God the money came back to your account.
Yeah, look, panic was well and truly setting in. I was like, shit, I've lost everything. I've sent it to some random bank account in Brazil. Thank the Lord it came back after about 45 minutes. It was probably so wrong that it just immediately bounced back. Look, I'm not painting myself in the best light here.
No.
My finance teacher from year 10 wouldn't be proud.
It raises a good point, I think. Always with anything, even if it's not crypto, if you're dealing with any large sum of money, anyone out there, just do a test first. Always a good idea. But it does raise a good point that, most of Sorare's audience is in the UK or Europe, a couple of in America, obviously. Not so many in Australia, but the system is kind of set up for European to European transactions. So maybe this is something where we can figure out how to do it and maybe do a bit of a tutorial for all the Aussies or Papua New Guineans or whoever else is out there that wants to withdraw their money from Sorare that might find it a little bit more tricky. So, yeah, you are very lucky, my friend. That could have been... It would have been one of those things we look back on and laugh, but it would have been absolutely devastating if you had just not only sold all your gallery, said goodbye to Sho Sasaki, said goodbye to Emmanuel Reynoso, but then you just went, brilliant, with all the proceeds, I'm just going to send it to Juan in El Salvador.
Gracias, puta.
Imagine next week's thumbnail. I lost all my money, and I'm not kidding.
You could always blame Sorare, so you could always, go on a Twitter storm. Nicholas, how dare you? Go fuck. Would have been good. Would have made some good content.
Thrown around. Yeah, so all's well that ends well, Alistair. I mean, again, look, we've still got another, a week and a bit of international break. I'm over it. You're over it. It's just
almost
a drag. It's just a drag.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's made me kind of think a little bit more about maybe trying to plan a little bit more ahead of time for the international breaks. We've got another one in a month. We'll go into some buy lows international edition a bit later on. So stay tuned. But yeah, I had in the midweek, I had Pedro Gaese and Nicolas Otamendi, who both did pretty well playing, but no attackers. And then on the weekend, all 3 attackers were playing, no defenders. So it certainly pays to kind of like plan ahead and figure out, like, do I actually have a team on each game week? Because obviously it's split up pretty randomly across the weekend and the midweek. So that was pretty frustrating for me to just sit back and kind of know that I did have a full roster of playing international representatives, but couldn't play them together. So that sucked. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to club football returning.
I must say, it has been pleasing to see the amount of 3-man threshies getting around. Nothing more impressive than a 3-man threshy. Yep.
It feels good. I mean, the frustrating thing is that Nicolas Otamendi in the midweek smashed out a 97 as my captain. So if I just had like maybe 1 or 2 more players, the 3 or 4-man threshy was on. So what could have been? But yeah, we move on. We move. Can we quickly, we haven't spoken about the Nicholas's tweet.
Oh, you want to start?
Should we talk about Nicholas's tweet?
Yeah. Okay.
Before we dive into, our topic for the day, I don't know if you saw. I'll share my screen now so everyone can see it. So look, Nicholas has posted this little tweet for everyone, a little chef emoji, which is hilarious. Nicholas always with the funnies. Now he's posted what seems to be a mock-up of the new Rivals format. So obviously it was once known as Kickoff, not to be confused with Kickoff. Now we've got Pro, not to be confused with Rare Pro, which is now Rare Plus.
What the fuck are you talking about, man?
Which is absolutely AIDS. It's the worst name for the tournament ever. I thought Rare Pro took a bit of getting used to. Rare Plus I don't think that's ever going to settle into my neofrontal cortex at any time soon. But we digress. So, okay, what I'm seeing here is, because I think I'd always thought with Rivals it was like, it's a pick up and play thing where you can play with a mate in the pub and you can be like, hey, everyone, let's get your teams in. We're watching the big game.
Did you see the match last night?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. God.
Did we? Wow. What a match!
But what I can see from this is that it seems like you can also challenge just other people in the world. So it's a little bit more like a FIFA kind of Call of Duty type deal where you kind of log into a server and you can actually play against random people in different countries, which is really cool. And I'm assuming with that you can also choose to play with, other Sorare managers. So I could challenge Black to a game, or I could challenge, Chani to a game, or I could challenge you to a game, which I think is really fun. Because my thought process on the Rivals was like, how often am I going to be in a game in a pub watching a Premier League game at 3 a.m. with my mates? Probably fairly never. So I was kind of not really excited about Rivals. But with this, knowing that I can kind of have some competition set up, I think that's exciting. And we've also got a little rewards tab here with coins and reputation points. So not quite sure what that means. And what else is there on there? Cost of entry, and there's a little ticket and a 1 of 3 next to it. So that's intriguing. Like, are you going to have to pay coins to enter these tournaments? In which case, if you're paying coins, surely there must be some kind of reward attached to it. And then the other interesting thing that you pointed out is that this little mock lineup here has super rares, commons, limiteds in it. So what does that mean? What does it all mean, Simon?
Look, a lot of unanswered questions. I mean,
answer them.
Well, I'm trying. I'm trying my hardest. Reputation points. What the fuck is that?
Street cred. So rare cred.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that.
I have a feeling that reputation points could be a real hit. I think people are gonna like froth their reputation points. I have this feeling that this is gonna be a thing where it's like, especially if they give you like levels. I think people love a fucking level.
What are you doing?
People love a level.
We've
Cannot
had
deny
this
people don't
discussion
love a
about
level.
coins where you were like, people are going to love the coins. And let's remember who was right about that argument.
I love coins. Coins are great.
How many
I just can't
jerseys
spend
do you
them on
want?
anything.
How many jerseys?
Well, it's
How
not
many
my
jerseys
fault.
do you
It's
want?
not my fault. I'm asleep. I'm not even asleep. It's not even that I'm like
we're
asleep
awake.
when they drop. I'm asleep when they announce it, and then I miss the whole thing. Anyway, we're not going into that. I can foresee. Look, I'm a Qantas Silver frequent flyer member. I want to be gold. I want to be gold more than anything in the world. I reckon if they've got like reputation levels and leaderboards and stuff like that, I think people are going to go hard, especially if it's a free-to-play thing. And I think that's important because you need to have a reason to play this ongoing free-to-play thing. I think there has to be rewards. I think, if they've got these arenas, then that does open it up for people to potentially win like cards, if it's like a knockout tournament or something like that. And then I think if you can win coins, which you can, and if they expand this club shop and you can actually use it on something valuable, I think that makes a huge difference. And I think reputation, I think people are going to froth it.
I also think that at the moment, the common space for a while, ever since we could no longer use common cards in our rare lineups back in the day, they've never really had a purpose. There's never really a finish line in sight. You're kind of just playing it. You're winning some cards every week, but it doesn't really have any purpose. So I do agree. I like the fact that you can go up against potentially mates, but then also other people. I also think that my worry was like, if we're doing an Arsenal versus Tottenham game, there's only so many cards you can pick from, and everyone's always going to pick the top guys if possible. So I'm really intrigued to see whether it's different scarcities can get more or less points. I'm not sure how it works, but trying to complicate that process a little bit so it's not just like, okay, I get, the Man City top 3 and then the best defensive stack.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to work. Maybe you can use, I don't know, like whether they take the kind of rare, super rare, limited. Go on.
If you did it against a mate, could you do like a draft system? Like you get each. It's like when you got team captains in primary school and you pick the most athletic kid first, and then your Harry Maguire's your fat kid at the back that you pick last.
No matter how hard I tried, I was always the odd man out, the last one picked.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. That would be fun.
I like it a lot.
If you're like, right, matchup starts in half an hour. Let's pick our team. I pick De Bruyne. Okay, I pick... I think I like that a lot. I wonder if the fact that they've got the scarcities here... Obviously, I don't know how it's going to work with, like, the actual NFT nature of it, but, like, if that might not be just a way for them to kind of introduce people to the idea of scarcities without actually having to go and buy one. So kind of like maybe you can spend coins to get a super rare. Obviously, it's not an actual minted super rare, but maybe you can pay to kind of get us, and you can only have one super rare per lineup or something. Maybe there's like some mechanism where these reputation points or the coins that you earn can be used to maybe, try and strengthen your lineups, in these arenas or these matchups that you've got against friends and stuff like that.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, yeah, it would be tricky. Like, you can't give someone a super rare, otherwise that completely defeats the purpose of going and paying ridiculous amounts for a super rare.
Yeah, no.
But
if it's a fake one where it's like, you obviously, it just gets you into that mindset of like, oh, okay, a super rare does this for... Well, they're not fake because you've actually paid for it. I've paid for my super rares. But if you get one that's a fake one, it just shows you, okay, I get 20% extra on that guy. I see how that plays out within an actual lineup. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I don't know. There's so many different ways they could take it, but everything on this screen makes me quite excited for it rather than what I was previously, which was like, I'm not going to be doing it.
Yeah, aside from the reputation points. But I also will say as well, like, I think it needs to have the balance between the ultimate goal of you can win, I don't know, an experience, a jersey, a actual card, but then you can have the rivalries with your friends or with people that you know from the community. Because at the moment,
Yeah.
and when we saw it with the World Cup, it's basically how the common thing is like you can score 500 points and you still don't win anything. Like, it's just unachievable.
Yeah, like I miss the old commons where you put a lineup in and you won a common and you only had the commons that you won to play with. Like that is a good concept of like it's obviously you couldn't go out and buy commons, so you couldn't quite have control of your own gallery. But I liked the fact that each week, depending on how well you did, you always won a common. If you did really well, you won a better common. I think they need to try and maybe this is the way they do it, is kind of reintegrate that element and combine that with a draft type setup where, yeah, I don't know. I think if they can fold some more rewards into this, again, it doesn't have to be easy to win, but I think just like setting up maybe what they could do, you can see there on the screen it says arena. So maybe instead of going in and versing 50,000 people and trying to finish in the top 100, which is almost impossible, you pay to get into an arena where you're versing another 100 managers and the top 5 win limited. And it's just all of a sudden your odds change. You're still competing. They're not giving away crazy amounts of rewards. People have to buy in using coins. So therefore, it's not just this free-for-all. Maybe this is their way to kind of bridge that gap between the common users who are just doing the draft every week and not really engaging with the platform and those of us who are actually fully invested in.
I think as well, it all ties in, of course, it has to have the mobile element to go with it.
Yep.
When they roll this out, the mobile app has to be better. It has to be at a level where
What are you talking about? You
pick up and play.
You don't bring your laptop to the pub? I always bring my laptop just in case I need to make a few purchases, get a little auction in, whilst I'm at the pub. We're playing an NFT. We're playing a football fantasy game. We're fucking nerds. Let's just lean into it.
Fair. I mean, have you got anything else to add on the pick up and play?
No, I'm, yes.
Okay.
No, here's another thing. The only thing I would add is that I think there's, for us as content creators, as influencers...
Influencers are a similar strain of species to humans, made up of carbon, hydrogen, and diet pills that don't work.
I think it creates a lot of really cool opportunities for us to maybe, if we have the power to, similar to the leagues idea that they had that didn't really work, but if we can run our own little arenas and have our fans, our YouTube subscribers, our listeners, they can battle against us every week. We can potentially put prizes on the line, I think, and by having it kind of, pick up and play daily, it removes that. The biggest issue with the leagues was that it was for the World Cup, and it was if you won one league, you won them all, so it was kind of stupid. Whereas if you have these closed off arenas and you can set when and where you want to do the daily competition, maybe if you can choose the game, you can put your own prize up. It just creates that next level of engagement for people like us who, we can create our own little community. We can battle against other communities, our fans versus your fans. I don't know. I think there's just so much exciting stuff that could come from this. But, it's all very mysterious at the moment.
Aren't you a little positive little bumblebee today? Just up and about.
I didn't almost send my money to Guatemala, so I'm feeling good.
Now, here's something that might make you feel a little bit less good, Alistair. I took a trip down memory lane today, and
Gross.
I mean, going back through our old episodes is quite hilarious in itself. We've come a long way, let's just say. Flashback to about 7 months ago, Alistair, the MLS season was kicking off, and, as we did the classic MLS predictions coming in hot and fast. So we sat down and gave our thoughts on who would be MLS Cup winner, who we thought the biggest loser, the biggest improver, MVP, Golden Boot, and Rookie of the Year.
I can't remember any of my
I'm not
predictions.
sure. Yeah, I was going to say. Some of them were quite shocking, to be honest. I mean, should we just kick things off with who we had for MLS Cup?
Go on.
The biggest prize. Now, this one's actually not too bad. I would say both of ours are pretty standard. I went Philly. Boring. And you went Seattle Sounders.
Did I?
That's
interesting. Well, they are doing better than I haven't. I'll be honest. I haven't paid attention to the Seattle Sounders one iota this year. I don't have any of their cards. I haven't watched any of their games. Couldn't care less. Are they doing well? I think they are.
They're fourth or so. Oh, they're pretty high up on the table.
They're in the running for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was fun. Next one. This one you're bang on. You said for biggest loser, who's going to drop down the most? Well, what about tell us the biggest losers? Who do you think's dropping down the most places or having a rubbish 2023 compared to 2022 season?
Look, I mean, I don't want this to be the case, but I think Austin will drop off a fair bit.
Austin.
Yes.
Yeah. Given the fact they are third last, probably a fair shout.
You got to wonder what's going on in my brain that I was like, I think Austin are going to suck this year. Let me go and buy a super rare of their goalkeeper.
Yeah, that is actually... yeah.
You know what they say? Zig when people zag? Zig when your own brain zags. Foolproof.
Anyway, so I went Dallas. They've been a little bit worse.
Pretty boring. Pretty boring. I have actually followed them because I won that Hader O'Brien. Hader O'Brien. He's actually been doing okay the last couple of weeks, but I have been watching them as a result of owning him, and they are boring to watch. Sorry, Dallas fans.
Speaking of boring, my next take wasn't much better. For biggest improver, I mean, technically, I could not have been possibly more right, but I went St. Louis. Do you remember that? My biggest improver, I don't think anyone can top this team, is St. Louis, because they're going from nothing to something.
Yeah, that was the biggest cop-out answer ever. Well, they've gone from not existing to existing, so that's a pretty big step up.
To be fair, they did come first in the Western Conference.
True.
And who saw that coming? Not me.
And you are now their biggest fan, obviously. Are you ready for? I mean, I'm super excited for their deep playoff run, and by deep playoff run, I mean out in straight sets. Now that you own their stack.
Yeah, look, I bleed the what do they say? The City Red of St. Louis.
Dog food.
It is quite remarkable that. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's incredible that they finished top of the Western Conference. That sums up the MLS, right? Like, you've got a City Red team sponsored by dog food is topping the Western Conference in its first year in the league.
Pretty wild.
Now, I said to Black, for those who don't know, Black sent me through a fair trade, my Kota Watanabe and Edison Flores for a full St. Louis stack.
Flag the account.
I will say, also, obviously, I would never sell them, and Black was a little bit concerned that I might have just sold them after immediately receiving them. But should I get them in the St. Louis kits? Because at the moment, they're all from separate teams.
That is... Oh, that's an interesting question. You might have to reach out to Black for that one, because I think your intentions are good. You're saying, look, I want to take what you've given me, this gift, and I want to run with it, and I want to really get behind the boys. So I want to, potentially sell these guys. I might take a bit of a loss, but I can now go and pick up my kit. But I think if you don't explain that to him, he'll probably just see that they'll exit your gallery and he'll be immediately heartbroken. So, but I think he would be for that move, because ultimately I think, he just wants to indoctrinate you in the dog food pink boys.
I will say, though, maybe I should wait until next season when their new season cards come out. No point buying the new season cards now.
I wouldn't say that, because you buy the cards now at a bit of a discount, hopefully. and then just put him in training until next season. You have a pretty decent bonus on him.
Okay, fair. For biggest improver, you had Atlanta. Yeah, that's fine.
I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't even. These are all teams that I just don't care about. Purely down to the fact that I don't own any of their players. But there you go, Atlanta. Yep, they're doing okay.
So now, look, if you're listening in the past 3 minutes, this has not exactly been the most mind-blowing fun segment, but this is where things get a little bit more interesting, I must say. So kicking things off, MVP. Do you have any recollection of who you said?
I'm going to say Lucas Zelarayan.
Yeah, how'd that turn out for you? Not good.
MVP of the Saudi League, smashing it.
Yeah, that's it.
MVP of Armenia.
And then, so we both had said how we knew that Toronto were going to be awful. And bang on. We know our MLS, right?
We are experts.
Again, Alistair, you just mentioned how you knew Austin was going to be bad, yet you bought their goalkeeper. You put Toronto as one of the most disappointing teams, yet you had Lorenzo Insigne for Golden Boot.
Okay, I know I said Toronto were going to be terrible, but if Insigne stays fit, I think he's going to be the Golden Boot winner.
That's okay.
Dumb.
I could have sworn that I said that Lorenzo. No, I remember that prior to that we had talked about hot takes, and I think I had said that Lorenzo Insigne was going to fail. And then obviously, 2 weeks later, I said he was going to be the Golden Boot. So maybe I'm just hedging my bets. I don't know. Again, zig with my own brain zags.
Yeah. And to round things out, you said Darren Yappy for Rookie of the Year. Is he still relevant?
I think his career's over, isn't it? No, I was not. I was nowhere near on that one. He plays for Colorado, who are terrible. And I don't think he scored a goal all season. So, yeah, absolutely nailed it. So come tune in next year for more hot MLS predictions. What about you? What did you put for Youngster of the Year?
Cade Cowell.
Yeah, he sucks too.
Yeah.
Oh, well. What about
it.
Golden Boot? Who did you put as Golden Boot?
I put Cucho Hernandez, which...
that's pretty close, yeah.
That's pretty good, because I think, we got Dennis Boanga is leading with 19, so he'll take it out. Lucho Acosta with 16, and then Cucho. And then Hanny.
Wow, Lucho with 16. Yeah, Brian White. Yeah, the New Jersey Mario Gomez. He's been killing it.
Right.
Yeah. Lucho has to be MVP, right?
Yeah. It was either him or Almada, right?
I don't know if Almada was ever in the MVP conversation, but just because Atlanta haven't been amazing, whereas Cincinnati obviously Supporters Shield winners, so it's I think he's pretty much the standout.
It's a shame because he's such a great card, but his leave is imminent.
Almada, yeah. It'll be interesting to see where he goes, because he could very easily go to an Ajax or a PSV or, an Eredivisie or Jupiler League team and do really well. But he could just as easily go to, Cadiz. That's the end of him.
I actually meant Lucho Acosta, but yeah.
Oh, no, Lucho Acosta has just re-signed with Cincinnati for 3 more years.
Really? I remember when his price halved because he was next to gone.
Well, there was a few rumors throughout the year that he was going to go, and then they've just re-signed him. He's the captain, I think, and also add to that, remember that he may be playing for the US men's national team next year. So get your Lucho Acostas for sure.
Right. Okay. Well, let's wrap up that awful segment. Let's go into a great segue. You have some fantastic international Bigelows and Sell Hayes.
I have no Sell Hayes.
Okay.
Sell Hayes I've really dug myself into a corner with that one because it is tricky. You can't force a Sell Hay, Sell Hayes will present themselves. I think if you were to pick some players right now that you could probably move on. PSU fans was talking about it today, but Guirassy at Stuttgart, he's scored 78 goals in the first 7 games of the season, so he kind of classifies as a classic Sell Hay, but he has just been absolutely killing it. So yeah, I think most people who own him probably would be pretty wary of letting him go. But as we know, I think it's one of our commandments: A player in form is not going to keep it up forever, especially forwards. So there you go. There's a sell hay for you.
Well,
the most
I
obvious
would
one on the
argue,
platform.
Can I bring one to the table? I
Sure.
mean, you just bought him and I'm trying to buy him. Again, shows how stupid we are.
Great.
James Madison? Because I feel like he has all the telltale signs of a sell hay. Like, he's had an incredible start to the season. Yes, he has been a good scorer in the Premier League for a few seasons now. Yes, he's a main man. But I think we need to remember that Tottenham don't have a striker, an out-and-out striker. Like, Richarlison's not going to be the guy to guide them through any mid-season wobbles. Like, does this Tottenham run dry up?
Yeah, look, it would be certainly more. I would be more hot on Madison if they had a big man up front that could just, he could just be pinging balls onto his forehead. But, I mean, the reason I bought Madison is because he pairs nicely with my super rare Heung-min Son, and I'm hoping that those two can combine pretty nicely for me over the course of the season. I don't know who's on pens for Tottenham. I don't think they've had one this year. I'm hoping it's Heung-min Son, in that case I've got, set pieces from Madison plus pens from Heung-min. Yeah, look, I mean, he probably does tick a few boxes in terms of a sell hay. As a Tottenham supporter, I am just waiting for this all to turn around and for everything to go downhill. It usually does most years. We usually start strong and then drop off the face of a cliff. So, yeah, I mean, you're probably right, but I had my reasons for purchasing him. You haven't purchased one yet?
No, not yet. The guy rejected my offer and he was being a bit annoying about the price, so I might go back, or I'm still open to getting someone from another team. I'm thinking maybe Arsenal, so...
Bit of a Carmichael Hunt. Cool. All right, so look, sell hays, I mean, I haven't got any that I've, put any great thought into. It's just the usual suspects, really, forwards that are on form. I was this close to buying a James Ward-Prowse, by the way. Even I had my own words spinning around in my head like trainers in a washing machine. He's a sell hay. He's a sell hay. He can't keep it up. And then I was like, oh, look at those green scores. Whoa. But I resisted, and I'm sure the green scores will just get even bigger from now on. Okay. Sorry, I'm waffling. So I thought in lieu of the international edition, like I said, every international break, I get a bit of FOMO because I'm like, oh, I haven't got any players for this. Or I'm like, I've got a bit of a bitch bodge of players from shit teams. And it would be nice to kind of plan ahead. And as I said, we've got another international break in just over a month's time in November. So I thought I'd pick out a couple of players that are pretty cheap, that have good fixtures coming up in the next international break. Some of them have, week-to-week utility, but, not all of them. So the first one I've got on my list here is Xherdan Shaqiri, the little man himself. So just quietly has been kind of doing quite well for Chicago towards the back end of the season. No, he hasn't been doing anything at all, apparently. Oh, no, here we go. He's getting involved. Chicago have kind of been a little bit better towards the end of the season. I think they're out of the playoffs race now, but they were looking close for a second there. If he stays at Chicago next year, I don't know, you'll get much of the same, but, I think you'd have to think that his price will go up towards the start of next season. Fun fact, Shaqiri is 1 month younger than me. That's weird. But the main reason that I thought he'd be a bit of a buy low is that in the next round of qualifiers, they've got some pretty tasty fixtures. They've got Israel, they've got Kosovo, and they've got Romania. So they should absolutely pump them. And as you can see, this past weekend in a 3-3 draw, he not only scored a goal and assist, but got 50 all around. So talk about a main man for Switzerland. He is the main man. And yeah, he's like $70. So you could potentially pick up a main playmaker for an MLS team ahead of next season and get a few weeks of absolute smashing out of him next month. All right, let's go. The next one is a little bit more of a left field one. Leandro Barreiro. He's a man who plays for a pretty mediocre team in the Bundesliga. He scores pretty mediocrely, but he's kind of priced appropriately. His floor at the moment is a little bit high. I'd say he'd probably come down around that 0.03 mark, especially kind of once people forget about the international break. He is under 23. He's a midfielder and he plays for... Who does he play for? Slovakia? No, Luxembourg. And they have got an absolute mental fixture in the next international break. They've got Bosnia and Liechtenstein, who they should absolutely pump. Luxembourg, not the best team, but they are pretty good, and they should absolutely roll both of those teams. So he got an assist against Iceland and got some pretty good AA against Slovakia. So it could be a little bit of a, cut price smasher for the next international break.
Get that sweet, sweet 2 games utility, baby.
That's what it's all about. I mean, yeah, again, none of these are obviously the ones who kind of have ongoing utility aren't going to be as cheap. So the idea is to kind of pick some where, at least with Shaqiri next season, he definitely should spike in value. And if he stays at Chicago, he should do pretty well. Otherwise, you could potentially see him going to Ligue 2 or, the Eredivisie or something like that. Who knows? I don't think he's going to go back
to Switzerland, to be honest.
Could go back to Switzerland and crush. Absolutely. I don't think he's going to try and go back and, take over the Premier League again or anything like that. And the next one, no utility week to week, is Robin Olsen. He's the backup at Aston Villa. He's not getting that starting job anytime soon, but he is the keeper for Sweden. And as we all know, the biggest bottleneck in international breaks is not having a keeper. So on one hand, you get a backup. If Emi Martinez goes down or has to go and play a game for Argentina, you'd have to think Robin Olsen's getting a game for Aston Villa. Or potentially, maybe in the Conference League, he might get the odd game here and there. But otherwise, they've got Azerbaijan and Estonia coming up in the next international break. So that could be one where, if you're missing a goalkeeper for your international teams, he can slot right in. Otherwise, you'd have to think he's hot property come, mid-November when everyone's scrambling to try and find a goalkeeper that's not ridiculously expensive.
Yep. Nice. Love it.
Love it. All right, cool.
Is that all?
That is all. So, look, we're set for the international break now. Everyone's going to be a millionaire by mid-November. You're welcome. Anything else, Simon, that we should talk about?
Not much, mate. I think it's just mostly all eyes ahead to when proper football comes back.
Oh, man, I can't wait. By the way, for everyone who's wondering why my background is different, I'm in a town called Mackay on a work trip. So, hence why I'm also holding my microphone like a dildo. So yeah, just thought I'd let everyone know that.
Never stop potting. Never stop potting.
Never stop potting. Potting? Professional potter.
Anyway, all right. Well, look, enjoy what's left of this temporary break from Sorare, I guess you could say. And yeah, I mean, all steam ahead to next week's show. And we're back into the thick of things, back into some Premier League action, baby.
Can't wait to see your first Premier League stack. Can't wait for those high hopes to be dashed.
God, they're going to be high.
As Liverpool go down 5-0.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. All right, we'll catch you later, mates. Thanks for tuning in.
Cheers, mates. Bye.